Hello everyone. This is Wagaki Mushiri, very happy and excited to be talking to you today about something that we have been cooking for a very long time, and it's about time we hit the road running. Hi Andrew.
Hi.
Great to have you here because, as I said earlier, we have been dreaming of doing this before, and finally we are here just speaking our mind and saying what we know and challenging ourselves and others to say things that we know, because the young people of this country and the world need to know. Maybe you can start by introducing yourself, Andrew.
You have already introduced me as Andrew. It's only that you didn't mention that the other name is Gishure. And that's it. The other things, I think we'll discuss them as we continue.
Exactly. And I think the first thing is I want to ask a question that I've always wanted to ask. You wrote your first book called Nobody Told Me. And the title is very intriguing because looking around, people speaking in conversation, you will hear someone complain, even the young people today saying, but nobody told me that. What inspired you to use that title of Nobody Told Me?
It's as simple as that. As I grew up, I just grew up in the darkness. I just lived my life the best way I knew how. And after growing up is when I realized that so many issues, nobody told me about them. In fact, it is my son who coined that phrase, nobody told me.
Really?
Yeah, and to correct you, it is not one book, it's several. I'm doing my fifth right now.
Wow. Now that is very exciting, and I can't wait to, perhaps in this conversation and those that are coming up, maybe going through the topics that you have covered, picking your own perspective, your own life, but at the same time, even addressing issues that we are currently facing as a country that are affecting our young people. So that, in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen, is an introduction of what we shall be covering in.
I think, Esther, is best if we mention a few things.
Sure.
What are the things that today's youth are suffering from? For example, issues about love, relationships, issues about making money, and even saving the same money. Their education, careers, what are they going to school to study? Do they really know? Has anybody told them the best paths to follow? What about marriage? Those who want to get married, how do they get their spouses? Has anybody educated them on how to? Okay, I think those are some of the things we should be, even as the other day people, or even this year, even a few years back, people have been talking about mental health. What drives people to get into mental disability or mental health? I think it is best if we tackle those issues in our discussions. What do you think?
I will be more than happy to discuss that. And I think for me, where I'd like to start is I love life. So I've emphasized on the word love, because love is what drives us. Love is what will wake you up in the morning, because you're waking up loving the life that you're about to face, loving the people that you live with, loving your country, loving your spouse, falling in love. The word love is very, very, very broad. And so for me, I think if you were to ask me where to start off, mine would be, can we think about love? What is love?
Right.
Yes, so love. I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, but my thinking is that love for a person starts when you are born. Although there are people who say that actually love starts from the womb of the mother. What's your take on that?
But don't you think we should first of all categorize the types of love that there are? Maybe
you can go ahead and do that.
Love for your parents, love for your country, love for what you do, love for your creator. And then we need to to know what exactly is love, because there are people who talk about a feeling, others talk about this and that. I think that is the way to go. First of all, we categorize, then we tackle each one by one. What do you think?
That's fine. And that's why for me, I was starting with, where does love start from? When a child is born, for example, how do they know that they are loved? Or who is that person that shows them love at first? And the question that I'm throwing, and maybe this is just throwing the spanner in the works, is the person that loves you first, be it your mother, your caretaker, or whoever, is that the person that plants love in you? Or in your own, now that you're an adult and you have experienced the different kinds of loves, and I can't wait for you to go deeper, where do you think you experienced love at first?
This one can be described broadly. That's the way it should be. For example, when you grow up, when you are now a toddler, you are growing up, the people who are surrounding you, the mother, the father, your siblings. The father may not be there, there could be no other siblings, but the person closest to you. But of course, on the other side, you may grow up in the streets. You find yourself, by the time you realize you're a human being, you're in the streets, so you don't know your mother, whether you have a father. You meet the guys in the streets, and those are the people you start working with. You start living with those people. And that is where you start finding love. So I think it is when you are growing up, when you realize that you are a person, the person now you find closest to you, that is where you start finding love.
Wow, that's a nice way of bringing it out, because I think for me, because I grew up in a family of loving parents, loving siblings, relatives that were loving, for me, that's where my love, the understanding of love started. And so even as I grew up and I went to school and I got young friends, some of whom, by the way, up to today, I can still count a few friends that I made in primary school. But for me, I speak of love starting from the family. But you're very right, because when you think about the youth, which is our passion and it's the core of these conversations, not every young person in this country or in the world have had that opportunity of having parental love.
Yes. Yeah, sure.
So you just touched me when you talked about the streets. What is your experience as a person? Maybe I can get deeper into you.
For example, I can give you I was born in a family of 11.
Wow.
And I was the 8th. And while growing up, I remember seeing my dad severally, just a few times. And as I was saying, I was born in a family of 11, and I'm the 8th child. I don't remember seeing any kind of love in between my two parents. And if it was, then I must have been blinded. And since I was brought up in, don't want to call it poverty, but we lacked several things here and there. And of course, when there is lack, there is always conflict. You find people scrambling for the little that there is. So that kind of love, sharing and scrambling and fighting for, is another totally kind of love. What do you think?
Scrambling for the little that you have, that is love. I guess it is, because somehow you tend to help each other. Remember, you are all from the same mother, so if it is scrambling, it's in your kitchen. It's scrambling for the same bed, hopefully trying to squeeze each other to fit in a bed. Yeah, I think it's love. We all find love in different circumstances.
Don't you think it is forced love? Because there is nothing you can do. That is what you have.
Very true. And can you imagine what it is like in the streets when you find the chokoras or the street urchins? I guess for them, they find love in that space.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, so you're right. So love can be found in different places as we grew up, depending on who brought you up. Then we go to school. And some of us probably, I don't expect love to be found in school, because school is where they put discipline and education is drilled into your head. Is there really love in school?
Yeah, you may sometimes you are there. If there is bullying, there is of course the other side of bullying, which is love.
For example,
I went to school when I was 5 years, simply because I had nobody to be left to live at home, so I was forced to go to school. I remember I was the shortest. All other people were taller than me, including girls. And incidentally, I happened to be clever. I used to teach them English, but then there was bullying. But then, of course, there's people who sided with me. I found love in those people. So love, I think, can be found in the hardest or in the rarest place of all.
wow, interesting way of looking at it. Indeed, that in itself is love. It's friendship, and friendship, the foundation or the basis is love. And so we grow up and we become young adults and we become teenagers and our bodies start changing, and all of a sudden you start having different feelings and attractions to other people. And then we start saying, I am in love with so and so.
Yeah.
Is that love?
Yeah, no, it is not. I wouldn't say it is. There is a word they used to. Was it infatuation or something like that?
Infatuation, yes.
Yeah, while you are having high, something is telling you are attracted to such and such lady, and you can't sleep. And in the morning, the first thing when you wake up, you think is about the girl. Even during exams, instead of writing the real answers, we have seen people failing because of thinking about girls or boys, thinking that they are in love. Yet later in life, they realize that was just a phase that they were passing.
Again, nobody told them that is a phase that actually all of us go through. The adults that you see on the streets today looking very straight and they have families and they have things, I am sure if we sat different people here and we asked them about their first infatuation, people would have very unique stories to give. And unfortunately, I think that is where you find that there are many young people that are getting pregnant because of that fire that is in your body because of your biological state.
Yes, for example, people will come out of school, let's say, for example, from for the grade. 12th grade. And they don't get good grades and they think life is ended. And then they happen to meet a guy. And then they are told 1, 2, 3 nice words. And then they think that is where life is. They think of nothing else other than going into marriage. You get married at 18, at 19, at 20, start having babies because you are in love. But by the time you get the third baby, you realize, I did the wrong thing. Nobody told me. I should have concentrated on my career. I should have concentrated on other things, on my education. Because even after getting a D, it's not the end of life. It's not the end of education. You see?
I hear you, but I'm looking back at our parents. And when you look at their generation, because they didn't have these opportunities, today we are telling our children, go to school, go to college. Even if you didn't pass well enough to go into university, we are still encouraging them to go into a TVET to get the technical skills. But before, because of no choices, I remember most of our parents were getting married at the age of 18, 17, having children, 20. But they still,
because that was the way of life.
They brought us up as we are, and that is, we are now the parents whose parents got married at the age of 20, 19. Were they wrong? They stuck into those marriages, remember, and hopefully there was love, even if you did see it between your mother and father.
I would say I cannot say whether there was love or not. What I know is it was the way of life. For example, there are some, what do I call that? I don't want to mention the word tribe, but that is the only word I have for now.
Communities.
Communities that used to circumcise their girls. And immediately a girl goes through that rite, she's ready for marriage. Okay? That was the way of life. They knew nothing else other than that. Today things are different. I'm not blaming my parents for not even telling me anything. Even by writing books, nobody told me. I am not laying any blame to anybody because that is what they knew.
Okay.
But today, at least we, the current parents, we have experienced some things that we should pass to our generations.
And that is why we must let them know what is right.
Sure.
Okay. Great. I like this conversation, and I think we cannot exhaust the topic of love, because beyond this human love, what we are discussing right now, there is also the element of loving my country, loving my work, loving things around me, the nature and everything else. There is still love for that, because when you look, for example, at the environment, today the world is talking about climate change, and we can actually see the effects in our own country. Part of it is you don't love nature. You don't understand why it's important to have a beautiful tree growing and you taking care of it. Is that also another kind of love that we must have?
Yeah, because for starters, when you are born and you start growing up, what you find, you did not make it. For example, the environment. You find the trees, you find butterflies and all that. What we do is to destroy them. Yet we had no hand in making them. What you should be doing is to nurture them. You see, the Creator in His, it is beautiful. It is beauty.
Yeah.
It makes somebody happy somewhere. So leave it as it is and make it better. And some of us have gone to schools. You have seen, we have been taught that what trees do to us, but then we go ahead and cut them, either due to ignorance or something I cannot understand. So it is paramount that we should love. It is very simple, love our country. If we all loved our country, we would not be differentiating between this tribe, that race, that career, that level of that person in the government, the levels of all those things, because we would be one, working towards a certain goal.
I tend to, and that is where the other day, I think during this period, in the last 2 weeks or so, and I must touch about this topic because it's really deep in my heart. In the last couple of weeks, there has been an uproar. The younger people have raised their voices after seeing how there has been misuse of resources. Also, they perceive that there has been misuse of resources in government. And as human beings, as children, we are educated. Remember, we are going back to where we came from. And we have the reference we have is our parents and what we went through and what is ahead of us. So young people are saying things are not going right. Yet we as mentors, as people who want to tell the young generation, we are here to say there's something good about this country. There is opportunity. But how do you help the young people raise their voice in a sober way so that they get what is right, so that they truly love this country of theirs? Because you just said it's beautiful. Kenya is a country where people are coming, they are visiting, they are doing their things, but we are having a generation that is unhappy. As a parent, as a senior citizen, what would be your take on this?
First of all, I think there is a lot of either misinformation today or lack of information. One of the two. For example, if you would take, wish could go back down history and start bringing it up where we have come from, how it used to be, the things we have gone through. Today we would not be seeing what we are seeing things. Our youth are in the streets because nobody has told them how it used to be, and between them and the people who have lived in the past come together and say, okay, if that is the way it was, then this is the way we should. This is the path we should follow. But because there is no information, nobody is coming up to tell the youth, even people, to share information. Even the government itself just do their things without telling us what they are doing. Let them come out. Let us all sit down and share. This is our knowledge. This is what we know about the past. This is what we know about the future, coming up in the future. And all compressed together, we come up with the solutions. So I still think and have that nobody is telling us things. Nobody has told me. Nobody has told you. Nobody has told people. And that somebody must start speaking. Whether it is a parent, whether it is somebody in the government, a senior citizen must start speaking. Okay?
I like that. And I have heard you before speaking to young people about our country, Kenya, about being patriotic. And it's true. When you listen to where we've come from as a country, when you look around and actually dig and see the opportunities that we have, it's such a sweet thing to be grateful to God for creating us as Kenyans. And it's a challenge, as you say, that we must step up and have conversations and share our history, share our failures, because as mentors, one of the things that we must do is talk about where we have been, where we have failed, but also what we know. Some of us are very widely traveled. We have seen opportunities. But unfortunately, and I still sometimes want to fault even our own leaders in government, we go out and benchmark and see a lot of things, but how do we come and simplify it to our young people, to our youth who are in the communities, in the villages, of things that are happening out there where development is happening, there is real impact, there is real revenue, and lives are being changed. We are not bringing those examples back home. And so my thinking is this conversation we must have of telling the young people. And there are those young people love stories. I don't know whether you've seen it, because I've seen you sitting around with young people before and just talking to them for hours. So how do you, maybe as we conclude this first session of Nobody Told Them and Let Them Know, what do you think we should be discussing in our next topic?
As we said in the introduction, there are so many things to discuss. But for it to have a proper profile, we need to... Why don't we start from the beginning? How was it in the beginning, and especially during our life as we grew up? What did we do? What did we not do? Did we, for example, we are talking about the love of our country. Love of our country, it means not waiting for the government to do things for you, but you also being involved in the doing, because the country belongs to you. So even as we were growing up, as we were brought up in families, we ought to have done something for the families or inside our families. Did we work? Were we taught about how to work? What did we do?
Wow.
Some of these grown-ups today, some of them will tell you they don't know even to cook. I remember my mother taught me how to make mokimo using the traditional pot without breaking it. She taught me how to make chapo when we are able to have the flour. Things like that. We worked in the farms. Today, even holding a djembe or something for me is not unique. And you will see, I can do that because I was taught. But I think these things, some of them do not know. So we need to go back to the childhood. We start there. Because these things, even if nobody tells you, somewhere down the line, the path of life.
Yes, you'll find them.
You will find them.
So true.
Yeah.
I like that. So maybe then the topic that we should be having next is about the value of work. And part of it is probably the African values. Because work is actually what unified us.
Sure.
Because even when people used to go to the farms who are here, they used to do it communally.
Yes, sure.
Right now we have demarcations and this is my plot, and if you take a little step inside my plot, then it's a fight.
Yes.
So how can we start bringing back those values that we had as Africans of farming and then sharing what it is that we had. So I like that, and I'm looking forward to that conversation of what's the value of work and what is our culture as Africans, as Kenyans.
Totally, the work that each one of us do in your daily chores is what makes up what people call the GDP.
Okay.
So the gross domestic product, we are not here to lecture, but we have read some little economics. Is the little thing you do, I do, the other one do, every one of us. And it is what makes a country. And less the costs, then you get the GNP, gross national product. And that is where the country's wealth is. So if you don't know how to work, or if you don't work, it means you are eating from the people who are working. You are eating from their sweat. What do you think?
Wow. Now you're just throwing a large spanner somewhere. Some of us think work is different of sitting down, and there are different types of work, if I may call it that, and I can't wait. There's work that we used to do then, which is still there, because if you're talking about the farming community, which is where we come from, that is still very important because we must eat.
Yes.
But there's new work that has come in. Technology has brought in new opportunities. So in our conversation next, we will combine all those and see how things have changed for the better. And we just tell.
You, Esther, you have just said people have to eat. Even when you are holding this, the computer or the technology, you must eat.
True.
Who is giving you that food? Somebody is producing that food from the chamber by holding a djembe, planting a sukuma wiki. That is work. And it is catered for in the GDP. So yes, when we start discussing work, we need to broaden because it's a wide subject. We must let them know what is work. Work is not just going into offices. Work anywhere. And our country is large, is big. We must go out there and work.
Indeed, ladies and gentlemen, I want to conclude with a slogan that young people use, saying, Wera ni wera. Work is work. And that will be our topic for next time. Until then, thank you very much. This is Wagaki Mushiri. The series, Nobody Told Me, Let Them Know. Thank you very much. God bless.